Good morning, chat. Can you hear me? I want to make sure I actually got it right and we're actually live now. My internet went out. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Sorry, I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. I think I started one live and then my internet went out. So I had to start a new one. So if you guys had to like close out one video and start another one, sorry about that. All right, market's open in about 5 minutes. So let's see what we got here. Put on these blue light blockers. Do any of you guys wear them? I don't know how much they work, but I feel like when I sit in front of the screen for hours between like trading and then like recording videos or different things, just screen time, like sometimes I have major headaches by the end of the day. So I'm wearing these blue light blockers, but maybe it's just a mental thing. I don't know how much they actually help. All right. Good morning, Susie. I didn't see you yesterday. Good to see you back. Yeah, I feel you, G-Man. So there's no news again, which that kind of made yesterday choppy. So I'm not excited about that. And then this funky move last night where it just like pumped and then dumped randomly. So I kind of feel like today is either going to be choppy like it was yesterday or just like random wiki movement. So I feel you with the tech issues, Susie. I was having that issue this morning too. Right as I like turned on my live stream, my internet went out. I think it was me though. My foot like rolled over my internet cord and I think it unplugged a little bit. So my bad. I did take 2 trades last night actually. So I started a Top Step combine and maxed those accounts out at 1,500 because you have to trade over 2 days. And then I have my accounts with the futures desk and maxed those out too. So last night was a good night. I took 2 trades. One, this first one here, it was just holding above that value area low from yesterday and it broke above VWAP. So I took a long and I mean, honestly, I just got lucky with the price action. I was just trailing my stop loss and then just got out when I hit my profit target. So there was no like fantastic trading on that, but I did catch that run. And then I did take a short here. I don't typically like to short the top after a big run up like that, but my thought process here was it was kind of close to that 22,000 like psychological level. And then it also consolidated and chopped quite a bit here. And if it was going to continue to run up, I would have expected it to break higher out of this consolidation, but it broke below that low, and that's when I got in short. And again, just hitting my profit target in that account, I just trailed my stop loss. I was aiming for yesterday's high and got it. So yeah, 2 trades yesterday. Yeah, short on gold, NQ is running, so that kind of makes sense that gold went down. So kind of just looking at a few if-then scenarios for today. Like I was saying just a second ago, I don't like the price action with that big run up and then dump last night and then no news today. So expecting a little bit of choppiness. If so, playing out some if then scenarios, let me refresh my screen because I actually have some more levels on here. There we go. So this London low, overnight low, is right at yesterday's low, previous day low. So if, I mean, I know that's a long way down, but if it dumps down here and grabs this liquidity and starts to react to the upside, that would be a good long opportunity in my opinion. Also, the other scenario is this line right here is value area high and then previous day high. If it comes up here and rejects, that might be a good short opportunity. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. We do have, the market is open. This green anchored VWAP right here is from last night's high. So right now it is above that. The white anchored VWAP is yesterday's anchored VWAP from the New York session. So we're kind of right in that zone for both of those. Let me go back to the 1 minute chart and anchor a VWAP from this New York session. Open. Get my blue. So those are a couple scenarios that I'm looking for, but I'm definitely going to try to be patient. If it rejects this value area high and previous day high, I could be looking for shorts. If for some reason it just dumps and comes down to like London low or previous day low and bounces, we could be looking for potential longs. Did anyone else catch that run up last night on NQ or ES or any trades last night or trades this morning? Or is this your first trade for the day? How's everyone doing so far? So like I showed earlier, I maxed out my Top Step and the futures desk accounts. So I will be trading my Top One futures accounts with you guys this morning. I will tell you, I do have a discount code for Top One futures. It's Krista, Krista. They released some new accounts. If you guys trade with them, they released some new accounts, and the new accounts are 55% off. The codes actually work for all of the old accounts too. The old accounts are supposed to be 40% off. So if you guys are in the market to reload on accounts, now is the time to do it because it's 55% off. You're not going to get much better than that. It's with my code. If you use the like the website discount code that they have, I think it's 50% off. All right, so we did reject that London high, but still kind of chopping around, holding above value area low at this point so far. So value area low is a good point of interest. Value area high, that was a pretty small range yesterday. So that's kind of the range we're looking at from yesterday's session. Oh, you got in that short from the London session, huh, Susie? So, part of this right here. You said about 2:30 my time. That was midnight. So, Central Time around here. Oh yeah, right there. Rejecting that value area low. Cool. So far, kind of just chopping around in this range. I'm going to be patient this morning. Like I said, I didn't really like that huge pump and then dump last night. It didn't didn't really give me a lot of information about what's going to happen today. And then also another day with no news. It could be choppy like it was yesterday. So I'd like to see it hit one of my levels cleanly and have a good reaction off of it and not get stuck in like a middle chop zone. My volume profile, what is it anchored from? So I have my VWAPs that are anchored. This volume profile right here on the right, if that's what you're talking about, Nick, that is a visible range volume profile. So that's why you can see, like, as I move my screen, it actually shifts. So I'll move it again, it's going to shift again. So whatever price action is visible on the screen, it'll show the volume profile on the right. Is that the one that you were asking about, Nick? All right, continuing to move these targets. There's the 15-minute low currently, and there's the 15-minute high for now. Still holding that value area low. So that's something to keep in mind. This value area low is from the New York session yesterday. So I do find that a lot of times yesterday's value area low, point of control, value area high serves as support and resistance for the current New York session. So we'll see if that actually holds or if we are going to go lower. Your real question is, how do you determine the value area high and value area low? Good question. So I use session volume profile indicator. So let me turn off the visible range volume profile just so I don't have too much stuff on my screen and confuse you. It's this right here, session volume profile, custom up, down. There's a lot of them, but just type in session volume profile. And then I have it set to just the New York session. So if I zoom out, I mark it from yesterday's range. So this is yesterday's New York trading session volume profile. The top of the white is the value area high. And for some reason my line is wrong here, so I'll move that. There's the value area low at the top of the bottom of the white section. And then the point of control on the indicator, there's a yellow dotted line. So I put a line there. And the reason I put those lines there is because I want to be able to take the indicator off, because it also shows during the current New York session. And if I leave it on, you can see like it's starting to gather data for the current session, and it just kind of gets in the way. So I like to turn it off. So yeah, Nick, if you want to play around with the volume profile in your trading, I always find it helpful because you can see even right now it's holding that value area low. And if it were to come up to this value area high, I'm guessing it would reject. Even if temporarily, like it could end up going above it, but it would probably have some sort of reaction at that line. I even marked the previous week. So I actually have a video about it on my YouTube channel if you're interested, but I take the volume from the entire week. So like if I was to do it for this week, I would take last week's Friday night close all the way through the previous Sunday session and get the volume profile from that. Right now it doesn't really help because it's all the way down. I don't even have it on my chart right now, but it's really low. It's plugged into Dad's computer. Dylan. My kids are at home with me. My son's asking me about something. All right, so starting to break out. I just told you that it would probably have a reaction off this value area high. Maybe not. I guess it doesn't always, right? All right, let me move this 15-minute opening range high up. So what I would be looking for here, I don't want to just chase this pump because it could reject and come back down. If it does start to reject this value area high or previous day high, we could possibly look for a short back down to the range low. That's kind of what I'm watching for here. We're 10 minutes into the open. So the 15-minute opening range hasn't been set yet, but that's something that I would be watching for. Another thing to keep in mind, which I didn't really talk about when I zoomed out, but if you guys trade fair value gaps at all, I don't really, but I do keep an eye on it just because of liquidity. This big dump last night left a pretty big gap all the way up to like 910 or so. So if it keeps running and breaks above this previous day high, I could see it going higher. So that's why when I'm trading levels, I'm not going to immediately take a trade at that level just because it's a line that I drew on my chart. I'm going to wait for the reaction and see how it plays out. All right, so still kind of in that value area high region, right around the previous day high region. This gray shaded area, if you guys haven't watched any of my like trade recaps before and you're not familiar, this gray shaded area, I use that same visible range volume profile that I showed earlier on the higher time frames. And I mark off areas of high volume because a lot of times they serve as support or resistance. So that's what this gray shaded area is. It's just a high volume area from a higher time frame. So it could potentially serve as a resistance. So there's a little bit of confluence there for previous day high, value area high, and that gray shaded area. But not enough for me to want to take a short yet. The 15-minute range hasn't been set yet. And then, like I said, there's that big fair value gap from last night up to 910, 915 area. I could see it potentially going back up to fill that. So just being patient. Just kind of talking you guys through my thought process. This London high was resistance quite a few times. So that could also be an area of support potentially if we're going to be continuing higher. What are you guys thinking? You looking for longs? You looking for shorts? What are you watching for? All right, so it is rejecting from that area I was kind of talking about up here with all that confluence, value area high, previous day high. But also right at this New York anchored VWAP and point of control. And area to the left where there was resistance could be turned support. So we could make an argument for shorts and longs right now. We could take a long, bounce off of this. We could also take a short because it's rejecting. I don't want to get caught in that for now. Bookmap, good question. I haven't even looked yet this morning. Let me see. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of like red on Bookmap. Not a whole lot of big heat areas. So 900, 21,900 has a few orders. Oh, hold on. Let me refresh it. My screen had frozen. So it wasn't at the current price. All right, so yeah, 21,900 has quite a few. So that's right up here at the previous day high, which makes sense. Honestly, that's why I didn't take a short there, because it never really grabbed that yesterday's high liquidity. So 900 would be right above previous day high. So if it grabs yesterday's high liquidity and rejects, that could be a good short opportunity. So there you go, Nick. There's another example. Kind of rejected that value area high area. I know it's just a region. It didn't do it to the dollar, but then came back down to value area low and bounced. Those are, at least in my experience, those are valuable levels to add to your chart. Yeah, I'm with you, Susie. Just kind of being flexible, waiting for some more information to come through. I'd like to see it maybe come up to this previous day high and maybe even a little higher, like 910, 915, to fill that fair value gap from last night and then reject. I would take a short from there. And then as far as to the downside, if it starts to break lower, I mean, unless we're kind of just chasing it, there's not any really good bounce areas until like London low or previous day low. Yeah, Beverly, so with YouTube, there's like a 8 to 10 second delay. If it's any more than 8 to 10 seconds, then maybe I'm not live on your screen. Like you could have maybe paused the stream for some reason. If there's a really big delay, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be more than like 8 to 10 seconds. G-Man, I was thinking about it. The timing of your meetings is actually perfect for making you like be controlled with your trades. You can't take any FOMO trades at market open because you're in the middle of a meeting. So you have to wait for that 15-minute opening range to be set. That's good. Beverly, is your delay just a couple seconds or is it a lot? So still kind of just chopping around in the middle of this range. Holding above point of control now. But, I mean, nothing convincing. I wouldn't take a long just because it's there. I think my, like, top setup that I can see right now would be a move up to this previous day high around 900-ish, or even, like I said, 910, 915 to fill that fair value gap from overnight. And then a strong rejection. I would wait for that reaction. And then I think I would take a short from there. Okay. Yeah, 5 to 8 seconds that's about right. There is a delay with YouTube. That's why, I mean, I like to talk through my trades anyway, just to like get my thoughts out loud and organize my thoughts. But that's also why I like to talk out different like if then scenarios. Because if you guys want to take a trade with me, it would be too late if you like entered after I had entered and there was an 8-second delay, you know. So hopefully I can kind of teach you guys along the way if you find it helpful. All right, getting to move back up to this value area high. Let's see if we can get up all the way up to that previous day high and reject from there. It's kind of what I'm waiting for. Looking at Bookmap again, there is a large set of orders, 61 orders at 21,900. So all those things kind of line up in my head. So if I was to take a short from there, I'd probably target back down to maybe New York anchored VWAP. And then depending on how heavy price is getting, potential for coming back down to that 15-minute opening range low. I find it helpful. I mean, obviously you guys keep showing up, so you find it helpful too, but I find it helpful to like lay out if then scenarios. That helps me to avoid just like FOMO last minute trades. Cause then I get to feel more confident about like if my scenario happens, then my trade has a good reasoning behind it and I'm not just clicking the buy or sell button with no reason, you know? So if I can like lay out the scenario before it happens and then what I said actually happens, I can feel pretty confident about it and like I'm sticking to my game plan then. So if I have a loss, it's okay. Like price action just didn't play out. But it's not a loss because I'm just taking a dumb emotional trade. It makes me feel a little bit better about my losses that way when I'm sticking to my rules and my if-then scenarios. So even if you guys aren't taking the same trades as me, but if you're taking a different trade and you see something different in the charts, kind of, I wouldn't say predict because we have no idea what the market is going to do and we need to react, but lay out a couple of if-then scenarios. That way you can stick to your game plan, stick to your rules and your plan. All right, coming up to that opening range high. So a couple different scenarios we can watch for here. I mean, 15-minute orb breakout. It could be a breakout retest to move higher. Or we could be rejecting at this previous day high and just grab that liquidity and reject down harder. So I'm going to be patient and see how price reacts up here at this level. So far, rejecting. I wouldn't really want to take a 15-minute or breakout retest because that's not looking like there's some momentum behind it to continue to the upside. All right, I'm going to take a small position short. And the reason I only took a few contracts is because I feel like there is potential that it could still like come up a few more points before rejecting. I feel pretty good about a short, but I wanted to be able to give it some room in case it came a little bit higher before rejecting again. Oops. 873 is my entry. If it gets heavy and completely just breaks through that anchored VWAP, I'll definitely be targeting the opening range low. If it gets a bounce here at VWAP, then I'll probably close it out because we could be continuing higher. So still at that point of control level, kind of reacting right now with that anchored VWAP. Let's see if we get some continuation lower or if we're gonna go back higher. So far it looks like it's going lower. In terms of bookmap orders, I see some at about 805. That would be a little bit below this opening range low. If I look left, that's actually a really good spot because, I mean, the NASDAQ likes to grab liquidity. Look at that right there at 805. Lots of liquidity to the left, so that could definitely be a good target. All right, so it's holding below this New York VWAP. I'm actually going to add one more contract just because it's holding below it, and that gives me confidence that we're going to go lower to at least the range low. So that makes my new entry at 866. All right, so the opening range low is at 818. That liquidity to the left I was talking about is at 805. So I'm going to put my target as a couple contracts, a couple that I'll take profit at 818. And see if we can hold a few more for that 805 level. Kind of just sitting there. Let me go back to TradingView, see what it's reacting with over here. So there is quite a bit of chop in here from like 30 minutes to 60 minutes before the market opened. It is also holding above this white anchored VWAP is from yesterday's New York Open. So far not breaking below that. One thing I've learned though, so I read Brian Shannon's Anchored VWAP book. One thing that he talks about is when a VWAP starts to flatten out like this white, that's an anchored VWAP. It looks like it's a straight line. Like it looks like a horizontal line tool that I drew. It's not. When they get flat like that, they are less likely to serve as support or resistance. When they're trending, like when it's obviously in an uptrend or obviously in a downtrend, it is more likely to be support or resistance. So that's why I'm not like, I didn't use this white anchored VWAP as a target. That's just my thought process behind it. I don't love how it's chopping around like this, but I do feel like it's going to come down to either value area low or this 15-minute opening range low, somewhere in there. Come on, don't be like yesterday, where it's just slow and choppy and no continuation in either direction. Go somewhere. It's gonna make me sweat for it. Yeah, Susie, I think you said you use VWAP, right? Anchored VWAP? It's a good book. I like it. He's very straight to the point. Like, it almost reads like a textbook. Like, he just has, like, titles for the paragraph, gets to the point, and then moves to the next topic. So if you enjoy like learning and you're a student of like trading and you're not necessarily looking for entertainment, it's a really good book. Like, I sat down with my highlighter and was taking notes. There was good information in there. All right. I don't love that it's heading back up. I'm going to let the trade play out though, because I do still feel like there is some resistance here. There's that value area high area. We still are below these highs, so it's not like we're making a higher high yet. Like I was saying about 5 minutes ago or so, like when I entered the trade, there were those orders up at 21,900 and they are still there. So, I mean, it could potentially stop me out, come grab those orders and then continue further down. That would suck, but we'll see. I'll let it play out. Nice. Should have signed up for an Amazon affiliate link. Just kidding. I'm not trying to sell anything. I do think it's a good book. Did anyone else take a short? Or is anyone long? Anyone in any trades? What are you guys doing right now? Come on. Give me what I want. Let's go. All right. Let's get a convincing move and hold below these VWAPs. I would feel a lot better about it at that point. Are you guys taking any trades yet? Susie, G-Man, D, Beverly, what are you guys doing so far? Still sitting in this position, chopping around a little bit. I do. I mean, I don't love sitting in a position like this long. It definitely makes me second guess myself a little bit. I was talking about that yesterday. When there's a lot of chop, it kind of like makes me start to see both scenarios. It makes me second guess. I do still feel decent about it though. Like I said, it's rejecting that value area high. It's still holding below opening range high. Chopping around VWAP, but I mean buyers aren't like really taking control. It's looking a little sad. Kind of looks, it just feels like it wants to go lower. But, you know, a lot of times when there's chop like this, that means it's going to explode in one direction. And it could be up. We'll see. Yep, I agree, Beverly. If there was a convincing move below and hold below VWAP, I would feel better about that position. You're in an ES short and not convinced? Yeah. Probably sitting through the same, like, unknown chop like I am. Let's see. Look at ES. How is it doing in terms of the VWAP? If I anchor one at 830. Oh, ES is holding a lot more above VWAP. NQ is kind of chopping around it a little bit more. So we do have similar like 15-minute opening range positions. Like that would be the top of the range. And this, I think if I'm doing it right, that would be the bottom of the range. Oops, the low. Because there's the 830 candle. Yep. Yeah, ES is definitely holding above that VWAP a little more than the NASDAQ. Still kind of just sitting in the middle. In the past, I've kind of watched both ES and NQ. Just because I feel like since they move well together, they almost can predict each other, you know? Like, not always. I don't have data behind this. So don't, like, add this to your trading plan. But, you know, like, if the ES has a 15-minute opening range high breakout and then move down to the downside or something like that, but the NASDAQ hasn't done that yet, it's almost like you can expect that to happen with the NASDAQ or vice versa. So I used to watch them both pretty heavily. I don't as much anymore because I feel like it was too much moving around. Like I'm already switching between Project X and TradingView, and then now I'm switching between ES and NASDAQ. It's just, it was a lot of switching around. I still stand by what I said before, where it kind of just looks weak, but I don't like to take trades based off of like how I feel about it. But I do see, like I said, rejecting value area high, not really convincingly holding above New York VWAP, although it's not convincingly holding below either. But starting to get a little bit droopy. Hopefully we get a move lower. If we make a lower low and get below this wick around 840, we should be sitting good. To at least, at that point, I would move my stop loss to break even if it got below 840. Yeah, it's kind of looking like it's going to be one of those choppy days like yesterday, where there's not really big moves in either direction until, what was that, a couple hours into the open. There's not a whole lot of volume. Like there was a little bit here. It's already dying down quite a bit. I don't like that move up. That was a pretty big strong hold or close above that anchor VWAP with a little bit of volume behind it too. Now you got me curious about ESD. Yeah, that was definitely a more convincing bounce right directly off of VWAP on ES. Not hitting that opening range high though. Starting to come back down. So really just chopping in the middle right now. Let me go back to Bookmap. So we have 33 orders at 900 still. That went down. It was like 63 orders, I think. Now we have a large amount of orders up at 950. So, looking like we might get stopped out here. That's definitely a strong move higher. Good morning, Johnny. What's up? You got here just in time to see me potentially get my first red. Looks like we're about to get stopped out. I took a short at the 15-minute opening range high rejection because it was also in line with that previous day high. I was targeting, my first target was here at that 15-minute opening range low. Hasn't gotten there, and it's kind of starting to make higher highs, holding above VWAP. It's not looking great right here. We would need another rejection at this 15-minute opening range high if we're going to be back in a good spot with this trade. I'm going to let it play out though. So one thing I'm trying to get better at with Bookmap is just kind of using those orders as like targets for later at some point in the day. Like really, I mean, those orders up at 900 and 950, that could happen this afternoon, you know? Like we could be in shorts and it could come down and grab this liquidity over here at 805 before bouncing and going back up to 900 and 950. So I wouldn't want to like get out of this trade and automatically switch to longs just because there's a whole bunch of orders at 950. When I first started using Bookmap, that's kind of how I did it. But then, like I said, I realized that those targets could be hit at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. YouTube's good so far, actually. I like streaming live. Even if I don't have a ton of people, and even if I'm just kind of talking to myself half the time, it helps me. I think it helps with accountability. I'm taking better trades with more confluence just because I have to like talk through it, and I won't take a trade unless I have like 2 or 3 good reasons to take the trade. So I've been trading better. Less DGen, like FOMO trades just based off of momentum because I feel like hopping in or clicking a button. So it's been good. I do use prop firms. Yeah, I like prop firms. For one, since, I'm still kind of a newbie trader. I've been doing this since September of 24. So I've definitely taken out some payouts and I've made some good profits. But I also still have days where I have no idea what the market's doing. I don't have a good read on it. Or like emotional full tilt days where I break my rules and I overtrade. So until I get rid of those habits and I like become more consistently profitable, I don't think I would want to trade my own accounts. I actually did an interview recently on this, but with a prop firm, not that I'm just trying to like blow money and throw it away on purpose, but if you blow an account with a prop firm, you can buy a new account for a couple $100. But if you have your own capital and you have a full tilt day where you blow 1,000, 2,000, whatever, a bunch of money, that's real money that you lost. And that sucks. You have a band at 898 and there's a 98% chance the price is closing below. Yeah, I think I'm getting better at setting parameters for myself. Like on Project X, I have my personal daily loss limit and my personal daily profit target where I set it and like it'll lock me out and close my account for the rest of the day. Having guardrails in place like that has really helped me. Because if I know that if I leave it to myself to like walk away after I take a couple of losses, I'm not good at it. Like I'll admit it. I'll sit here and find another trade or overtrade until I turn green or until I hit my profit target. And then you know what that means. It means I'll actually lose my account because I keep losing and start taking even dumber trades. So having those guardrails where I have to turn off my computer because my account's locked, I can't trade anymore. That's been really helpful in terms of establishing consistency. I think that's a big reason that I've been getting to payouts. Yep. Yeah, I feel pretty thankful and grateful that I don't want to say figured it out. Like I still have a lot to learn. Like I just said, there's days that I still have full tilt moments and don't have a good read on the market. But I feel like I'm starting to find my way. It's pretty cool. I'm having fun with it. All right, Susie, have a good day. Thanks for stopping by. This is going to be the world's longest trade. If you guys just tuned in, I'm still in this trade. I entered it at 9:54 Eastern time, 8:54 my time. So 26, 27 minutes ago. And it has gone nowhere. I never did Forex. Thankfully, my first experience in day trading was futures. I did a little bit with crypto for a little while, but didn't have much success with it, so quickly stopped doing that. Now I just hold like long-term spot with crypto and Ethereum, Bitcoin, and a couple things like that. All right, let's see if we can actually get a move lower. So still holding below that 15-minute opening range low that I was talking about, rejecting the general area of the value area high. Still above VWAP though, and above this like chop consolidation range, which is kind of serving as support. If you look at that visible range volume profile from like the last bit of trading since last night, there's quite a bit of support here at this point of control. So we got some work to do if we're going to get below it. Well, I'm glad that I got some good trades last night with the Asia move. Bye, D. Have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. I'm going to let this trade play out. Hopefully, we do get some continuation lower. Honestly, I mean, even if we're going to go for longs, there's no continuation higher either. It's not convincing in either direction. I'm in a short right now, so I'm going to let it play out. But if I wasn't already in a trade, I definitely wouldn't be taking a trade right now. There's not a whole lot of information either way right now. The reason I originally took this trade was that strong rejection off previous day high and 15-minute opening range, which had already been set at this point. There was that strong rejection, so I took a short. But there wasn't really any continuation down to where I was targeting. But it hasn't stopped me out yet. I'm still in it. Beverly, ride or die, let's go. I'm okay with it. I'm still within my risk. I try to risk about $200 per trade. So if I was to get stopped out on this one, it would be $216. And kind of like I was saying earlier, like if I talk through the confluences and I have like 2 or 3 good reasons why I'm going to take the trade, if I play out the if-then scenario beforehand and that if-then scenario actually plays out, which it did, like right as we were opening in the market, I was saying if it rejects from that previous day high and has a strong rejection, I would take a short. So I can feel okay about that loss then. I was sticking to my game plan, stick to my risk. And you don't always get every trade right. It's when I like take a random degen trade and I oversize on it and I have no good reason or confluence about why I took that trade. Then I can be mad at myself. All right. Kind of getting back down to that New York anchored VWAP area. Let's see if we can actually break and hold below. So this could potentially be a lower low here. Or a lower high, sorry, lower high. So here's the high, here's a lower high. We would just need to see a lower low to make me feel good about the position that we're in. So break below 845-ish. That would also be a good strong break below that anchored VWAP. So we'll see if we get it. Sasmit, I don't know if I'm saying your name properly, but do you use prop firms? You were asking me. Do you trade your own capital or do you use prop firms? Well, like I was saying a couple minutes ago, I'm glad that I got some good trades during the Asia and London session. So I started a couple of Top Step combines and maxed those out last night. And then I also have the futures desk. I maxed those out last night, unlocked those out. So good trading last night. While we're waiting for this chop, I'll kind of walk through what I took last night, if you weren't here when I first started this stream. If this kind of helps you guys. I don't trade Asia a lot, but if price is moving, like there's actually a good ATR and there's movement, I will take trades. If it's like a snail's pace, it drives me crazy. And I can't sit through a trade for 15 hours. Still chopping around. All right. So last night I took this long, and I'm not going to even credit my like amazing trading because obviously I just happened to get in when it was pumping and I was trailing my stop loss and got out when I hit my profit target. But the reason I entered the trade was it was holding above this value area low from yesterday's New York session, which like I've said before, a lot of times serves as support. And it also broke above yesterday's anchored VWAP, which is the white line, and then the opening VWAP, which is the blue line. So that's why I entered a long and then just trailed my stop up to where I hit my profit target. Ended up taking a short in another account just because it was hitting that kind of the psychological area of 22,000. And then also had a good strong consolidation and then rejection. So don't like to short the top, but that was a pretty good confluence in my opinion. And then I did take another small short this morning just to hit the final profit target in that other account that I was showing you guys. So the reasoning here was we had that strong bearish move down. And then all of this right here was kind of just chop consolidation. Like there wasn't a higher high. I mean, a little bit. But for me, it was overall still a downtrend. So I was looking for shorts. And it had a good rejection from the VWAP and point of control, which is this orange line here. So there was decent confluence, in my opinion, for a short at that point. And originally I had my stop loss up above that high, but I lowered it as price action continued lower and got out at about 800 where that liquidity was, which ended up being a perfect exit. So those were the 3 trades I took this morning or last night overall. 3 for 3, that was cool. Good price action last night. And now we are stuck in this trade for the last 40 minutes. How do I hold the ability to hold a trade for so long? Honestly, I think it's just because I feel good about why I entered it. and I'm sticking within my risk parameters. Like if I get stopped out, I lose $200, that's okay. That's a part of my risk plan. There are times when I definitely don't sit through a trade very well and I get very anxious and I start to think like, oh, should I reverse my position? But I feel good about why I entered. I feel like it stuck to my game plan. Even at market open, one of my if then scenarios was if it hits previous day high and rejects, I would look for a short, and that's exactly what it did. And I entered the right amount of contracts that's within my risk that I want to risk per trade. So I think that's why I'm okay with sitting through this trade. Because even if my stop loss gets hit, I wouldn't be upset about it. I think it was a good trade. I do find, just to kind of expand on that a little bit, Sasmit, I know that when I do get anxious in a trade, it's because I didn't enter with enough confluence or I am sized up too big. And like if it hits my stop loss, then I'm losing too much and I don't feel good about it. So if you feel anxious in a trade, maybe consider that. Like, did you follow your rules? Did you enter a good trade? Or are you sized up too much? Are you risking too much? Maybe think about that. This is funny. Well, I do know yesterday was no news and it was choppy. Today was no news and it's choppy. Tomorrow and Thursday are big days. One of them is PPI, one's CPI. I don't remember which is which. Let me look it up. So Wednesday is CPI at 8:30 Eastern. And then Thursday is PPI and unemployment claims at 8:30 Eastern. And then on Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, it's consumer sentiment. So all three of those will probably be pretty big. So we should definitely get some movement Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Nick, how long have you been trading? And what style of trading do you do? Do you follow like levels? I know you're asking about volume profile. Do you use VWAP? ICT, trend lines, what do you do? All right, so it did come back up to this 15-minute opening range high. It's starting to reject. But, I mean, that's not a convincing, like, high volume rejection. It's really just continuing the chop. For me to be convinced that we're actually in a good spot with our shorts, I would like to see it break and hold below this New York anchored VWAP and ideally make a lower low. So breaking below like 845, 846. Then I would feel better about it. But for now, we'll just let it play out. I know, G-Man. I'm going to wait for this trade to play out and just see because I'm already in it. But I'm kind of thinking I'm going to call it at the end of this one. Unless for some reason, like some news event comes out, if Trump tweets something or some announcement comes out and there's a high volume event that helps with some liquidity. If that doesn't happen today, then I'll probably wait for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when those news events are coming. I don't really care what the news is. I just want there to be some sort of event that like adds some volatility to the market. How's it been going for you, Nick? Are you starting to see some payouts? You doing well with it? Or are you still kind of in the learning phase? Okay, so similar, Nick. Watching levels and VWAP, so similar to what I'm doing. What kind of levels do you watch? Like the 15-minute range, the 60-minute range, 30-minute range, or just like liquidity levels, support and resistance, just drawn by eye? Like, where do you get your levels? Yeah, this range is just gross, Nico. 75 points. So I didn't even draw the 60-minute high because it's like pretty much the same as a 15-minute high, and it's right at yesterday's high, so I actually won't draw that. But let me see. From here to there. Yep. 74, 75 points. Sheesh. That's like normally a opening 5-minute candle. So Nick, one thing I would say I'm a levels trader too. Like what I used to do, and I still do, but I would zoom out to like the 15-minute range or the 30-minute range and just kind of eyeball, like there's lots of wicks up here and here, so then I would draw a line. Or like this area or here, there's lots of wicks in this general area, then I would draw a line. What I do now to add some confluence to it is use the visible range volume profile, which I kind of introduced to you at the market open. But that's what this is over here, this gray shaded area. And if it's hard for you to see, you can adjust your tools, the settings over here, and make these gray shaded boxes darker or like lighter if you want to be able to see them differently. I don't like to have a whole lot of noise on my chart, so that's why I keep it that way. But in short, you can go check out some of the videos on my channel if you want like a more detailed walkthrough of it. But in short, these high like volume nodes right here are where most volume has been, like where a lot of trading has been, has happened. So it's similar to like if you had a volume chart on the bottom, but it's displayed on this side based on where price has been. So what I'll do is these gray shaded areas, I'll mark off high volume nodes. And that a lot of times shows confluence with the wicks. So like if you were just looking with the naked eye, it's a lot of times going to be where the high volume nodes are. But it makes it, at least for me, it gave me a lot more confidence that the areas that I drew were the right areas. So check out volume profile and kind of play around with how to read that. And there's different ways you can do it. You can do visible range volume profile. You can do the session volume profile. So like today's session, point of control, value area high, value area low, yesterday's session volume profile. Since this price action is not really moving right now, I'm going to kind of walk through a couple things. If you zoom out to a higher time frame and you have the session volume so this yellow line is the point of control on all the sessions individually. It's very next session, that bottom of that session, which was actually a couple days ago, it came down almost to this point of control. And I could go back and show you like so many examples of that. Like this right here, this point of control served as resistance for that next session. So check out session volume profile and visible range volume profile, especially if you're a levels trader. It helps a lot. All right, with all that, nothing really happened on price action. We didn't miss much. So Beverly asked, when would you call it? So honestly, I'm already in this trade, and like I was saying before, I feel good about the reasons that I took the trade. My risk is still within my parameters. If I get stopped out, I lose $200, which is what I want to risk per trade. So I'm going to let it play out, either to my profit target or my stop loss. Or if it makes a lower low, if it hits like 845-ish, I would move my stop loss to break even. So that's kind of when I would call it. Once my trade got stopped out or profit target hit, then I would say that today is probably not the day for me. Because I already took some good trades in the overnight session and early this morning. And I have my 2 other accounts that are big in the green and locked out. And then this price action is just yucky. But let's see, we're starting to get a little bit of movement. Nick, check out, I'm definitely not the best content creator, so I'm not like trying to spam you with my channel, but I do have a couple on volume profile and like marking my levels on my channel. Also, I would recommend checking out Real Deal Futures. If you Google, or not Google, but like search for him on YouTube, he does a lot on volume profile, and he uses visible range volume profile. And he's a pretty good teacher. I like the way he explains things. Real Deal Futures. Check him out. And then, of course, just type in volume profile or whatever and like find different videos. But I've learned a lot from him. Let's see what we got going on the higher time frames. Look at all those wicks. That's just ugly. Yeah, I do S1. I try to keep it simple. Even this on my chart right now, I feel like it's a lot of lines. Like it makes sense to me because I'm the one who drew it and I know what I'm looking for. But I feel like if anyone were to just log in right now and see it, they'd be like, what are you looking at? So I try to keep my lines simple. And as soon as something is no longer relevant, I try to take it off. So like this London high, for example, no longer relevant. I can take that off. Now we're starting to get some volume. This green line, that is from yesterday's high, the anchored VWAP. That's not really no longer relevant, so I can take that off. So I do try to keep it simple. If we go out to like the 15-minute chart, yep, I could see where we could come up and stop me out. This is kind of what I was talking about at the very beginning of the session, like right at market open. I was talking about this fair value gap. So I wouldn't be surprised if we come up to this 915 area and then possibly reject again from there. Yeah, that would be a possible spot if we do end up breaking out of this range and break above yesterday's high. That would be a point of interest for me, like 910, 915-ish. Unless some like news event comes out or some announcement or tweet or whatever, I don't see this being a continuation type of day. So if we were to break out, I would think a small target, 910-ish, before we come back down. I don't see it coming all the way up to like Asia high or anything like that, at least with the way things are going at this point. Same thing to the downside. If we were to break down, I don't see us coming all the way down to previous day low. It's not enough liquidity in the market today. But yeah, I agree. 30-minute chart doesn't look great for shorts. Although there was this big wick at the open. And there's this resistance over here. So we are convincingly holding and bouncing off and above this New York anchored VWAP. So starting to look more and more like we're going to get stopped out. But I'll let it play out. So kind of for the rest of the week, tomorrow I am not going to be live on my channel. I'm going to be live with ASFX TV, which is a paid group. So unfortunately, I won't be able to see you guys. Thursday and Friday, I will be back. And then my plan is to do more next week. I'm having fun with this. This is the only the third time I've been live with you guys. I'm having a lot of fun. I appreciate those of you who have been returning and coming back and find it useful. To be honest, it helps me too. Like talking through my trades and answering your guys' questions. I still feel like, I wouldn't say a beginner, because I have had some success. I've taken quite a few payouts and I've gotten the hang of it. I'm finding my groove. But I also am still a student to the process. So if I can pass, like if I'm a couple steps ahead of anyone in the chat and I can pass some of my knowledge on to you and help you get to where I am, then awesome. That helps me and makes me feel good about it. I also have a giveaway. So Top One Futures gave me a free challenge account, a $50,000 challenge account. So I'm going to pass that on to you guys. I'm going to do that on Thursday. So again, I won't be here Wednesday, but I will be back Thursday. So come join me and I'll be doing a drawing for anyone who shows up. So I'm not leaving yet. I'm going to let this trade play out. Still, I'm on a different screen, but I'm still in the trade. Came up close to my stop loss, but still rejecting that 15-minute range high. So once this trade plays out, whether I get stopped out or it goes to my target, either way, this will probably be my last trade for the morning. Just to kind of walk through some scenarios. A lot of times, so I've tried to get better at not just sitting at my computer screen when price action like this is just gross. I because then I start to see things. Like I start to make things up and be like, oh, this is going to go long, this is going to go short. And I like start to get flip floppy and reverse my positions and overtrade. So a lot of times what I'll do is set alerts for certain areas of interest so that I can walk away and go like work around the house or prep dinner or whatever I need to do for the day. So this trade is still playing out, so I'm not like getting out of it, but some if-then scenarios for the future. I would set, and I'm going to go through it with you guys right now. I would set an alert at the top of that fair value gap that I was kind of talking about. So I'm going to set it at about 9:10. So I just click that plus button and add an alert there. And I have notifications set up on my phone, which also triggers my watch. So I get dings everywhere. But if that level is hit, then I can go log back into my computer and kind of see how it reacts. So I wouldn't automatically take a trade, but if it hits that level and has a strong rejection, then I could possibly take a short. So I'll set an alert there. And then I would also set an alert at this 15-minute opening range low. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. And what I would watch for here is a possible bounce off of it, because a lot of times price will stay within the range for the day. Or potentially come down here to this like 805-ish level where there's all this liquidity if you look left. Possibly come down there, grab that liquidity for a bounce. So I would set my alert at the opening range low because it could be there or it could be slightly below. And then, of course, like doomsday scenario, it could come down here to this London low or Asia low. There's a lot of liquidity there. But, of course, I would have been alerted already if it hit that 15-minute opening range low. So those are kind of the two like range alerts that I would want to be interested in if I was to walk away if this trade didn't play out. But for now, we're still sitting in it. We're still here. Beverly, are you still in this short? The world's longest trade. I feel like we're swing traders today, huh? We're gonna hold this for like 3 hours, right? Yep. Well, hopefully you're sitting calm about it like I am. Like you had some confluences, you saw some of the same stuff I did. You kept your risk within your parameters. And you're okay with getting stopped out. That's how I feel about it. G-Man's just laughing at us. Uh-oh, G-Man's long since 873. Did you take it because of how it's continuing to hold above that New York anchored VWAP? Was that your reasoning? And then I do see lots of orders at like 900 and 950. So I could see where that would be confluence for a long. Yeah, it's definitely getting into that ugly chop area where if you were to try to take a trade right now, you can make a case for longs or shorts. The reason I'm sticking with this trade is, like I said, I had a good reason to enter. It hasn't stopped me out. I'm gonna let it play out, see how things go. all three VWAPs. I see the New York anchored VWAP, the overnight VWAP, which is my two blue lines. What's the third one? Do you have an anchor from like the New York session low? Is that the third one you're talking about? Yeah, maybe that one. Is that what you're talking about? Low of day, high of day in New York. Gotcha. Yeah, when it's choppy like this, I don't always mark the New York high of day and low of day. Just because I feel like the lines all kind of end up in the same spot. Beverly says I'm breaking up. Is it hard to hear me? Is anyone else having trouble hearing me? Yeah, that candle was the first like actual movement over the last couple minutes. Beverly, I'm curious, are you trading with a prop firm or are you trading like a paper account? I saw you say that you're still learning. So there was a pretty good wick lower, move lower. That's not any reason to celebrate though, in my opinion. It's still kind of staying in this chop zone. It's not like holding below this VWAP. It hasn't made a lower low yet. Why is my alert here? When I was setting them with you guys earlier, didn't I set it at the 15-minute range though? That's weird. That's where I would want it. So if I was to take future trades, I would be interested in if it hits the 15-minute opening range low or if it hits that fair value gap I was talking about. So those are the two alerts that I have set. Practicing on evals is good, in my opinion. Like, even when I was still learning, and like in hindsight, I would say I was a terrible trader, I still used evaluation accounts. I only did paper trading for maybe 2 weeks. But I feel like it was really easy just to take like YOLO trades, you know? Like I was trading minis and I was making like $2,000 in a day just because you don't care. Like it's not real money. And then the next day I would like lose 5,000. I was like, I can do this. Like I just made $2,000 yesterday. I'm going to be rich. But I mean, it's just not real. But with a prop firm, I mean, you can buy some evaluations for cheap. Like Apex, when they're on sale, is like $19. Top Step is like $49. There's lots of them that are cheap. So it's not going to like totally break the bank. I mean, assuming you have like a full-time job and you can spend $50 to $100 on prop firm challenges in a month. But then it gives you like a little bit of skin in the game. It actually gives you a goal. Like you have to hit this $3,000 target or whatever your target is for the size of the account that you chose. And you have rules that you have to hit. And like, scaling and all that stuff. I don't know. I feel like I learned a lot better when I had a little bit of skin in the game. Finally, I knew that choppy consolidation was going to break somewhere. I just wasn't sure where. All right. Now that we're getting some movement, let me move to where my actual trade is. So I was saying if we break below this like 847-ish range, then I would want to move my stop loss to break even because we'll have made a lower low. It's not really holding below it, but I'll be moving my stop loss to break even here in a bit. And then this first target I have is at the 15-minute opening range low. So I have 4 micros on this position. I'll take half of it off at the 15-minute opening range low. And then I have a couple of runners that I'll leave. Take note, Marvel. So yesterday, I didn't do a trade recap because I was hanging out at the pool by with the kids. But I did trade with you guys live, so that's why I didn't do a recap. I figured it'd be okay. I stayed right at that 111, I think it was, which is what I finished the live session with in one of my accounts. And the other set of the accounts actually finished red, $550, $600, something like that. I got caught in that choppy price action. Took a couple losses. So it's bouncing off yesterday's anchored VWAP, like G-Man just said in the chat. Kind of hitting this New York anchored VWAP area. So the reason I haven't moved my stop loss to break even yet is it didn't really hold below this wick low. I kind of wanted to give it a little bit of room to breathe because, I mean, I would have been stopped out already. And I still feel like there's potential for it to move lower. So this area over the last 30 minutes or so that has kind of been supporting price action at like 860, 862. That's where it's rejecting right now, which is also in line with this New York anchored VWAP. So I still feel like it could move lower. I want to give it a little bit of room to breathe and not move my stop loss to break even yet. Because again, I still feel decent about this short and I want to let it play out. Nope, I just trade NQ. I try to stick with one instrument. I've traded gold in the past, and I still look at it, but I definitely wasn't as profitable, wasn't as consistent. So haven't been doing gold. I've taken a few trades in my lifetime over on ES, but I definitely find, for me, at least, since I'm still kind of in the learning stage and like still trying to establish consistency and stick to my rules and all that stuff, sticking with one instrument is helpful for me. Well, that's definitely not what I wanted to see. I was hoping that it would reject that anchored VWAP area and that spot that was serving as support before. Support here, resistance here. I was hoping it would hold below that. It's not. Again, not feeling bad about my trade. I wanted to let it play out because I entered for a good reason. My risk is still at a good level. There's still a chance it'll go down. This is yesterday's value area high. Still below that 15-minute opening range high. There's not really any continuation in either direction. If you guys are not in a trade already, I would not recommend getting into a trade. If I hadn't entered a trade like over an hour ago, I would not be in one right now. I'm just letting the original trade play out. I haven't looked at Bookmap. What's going on over here? Man. Not much. Do we have any Bookmap traders in the chat? I know G-Man is. Who else? Does anyone look at Bookmap? Beverly, we were talking about you kind of being a newbie and trying to pass an eval. What is your strategy? Like, what do you said you're still learning. What strategy are you working on? Levels, VWAP. You said you took a trade on the break below VWAP earlier. Do you do like 15-minute opening range, 60-minute range? What do you trade? Trend trader. So do you do trend lines? Or like momentum trading? Like just based on if there's momentum to the upside, you hop in along? Or what do you do? What kind of trend trading? And now we're starting to move lower again. I'm going to sit here with you guys and let this trade play out. I'm curious now. I want to see how it goes. Aw, I love that you're new and you're following me. I stumbled upon you and this is the type of trend trade strategy. I like it. So do you, like, are you marking levels to know which areas to take longs or short off of? Or are you kind of just following VWAP and like if it breaks below, you're taking a short, if it's going above, you're taking a long? Like what are some things that would make you take a trade? The highest profit I've gotten in a day so far. Well, I have passed an eval in one day, like one of those. I don't remember which prop firm. I think it was My Funded Futures. One of the ones that only has like a 1 day pass rule, and it was a $3,000 profit target. I've made that in one day before. But I'll be honest, it was not with good trading. I was using minis and just like sizing up way too big and got lucky on one trade. It was just like a YOLO day. So, and I mean, that didn't give me an actual payout. So I wouldn't count that. For actual like real money in a funded account where I'm actually going to get to withdraw it, my highest day was $900. Yeah, the $3,000 day, like I said, it was not good trading. I just like sized up. I think I was using two or three micros or yeah, my minis. Minis are the bigger ones. I always get the two mixed up. Two or three minis, and then just caught a big move. But I mean, I don't remember how many, but I'm sure I blew a couple of accounts right before that. So it was not a good strategy that I would recommend anyone follow. Beverly, are you in? So I started a Discord group for women, women's only. It's called Chart Queens. Are you in that Discord group? Or did you just find me on YouTube? If you profit 1K in a day with a prop firm, how much money do you get and how much do they get? Good question. So, prop firms all have different rules. So most of them have, like, once you get to the actual funded stage where like you're a real trader and you're in the stage where you can withdraw money, a lot of them have rules where like you have to trade for 5 days in a row or 10 days in a row, and a certain amount of those have to be profitable. You have what's called a consistency rule, where like none of your trading days can be more than 20% of your total profit during the time you traded. So there's a lot of different rules. Most of them, you can't just like make money one day and then withdraw the money that same day until you get to the stage that's further along. Most of them have different stages where like there's an evaluation to prove you're a good trader, and then you get to like what they call sim funded stage, where you're kind of playing with like internet fake money. And then once you pass that stage, which is usually a month or two, then you're actually in like a live brokerage account with real money that you can withdraw anytime you want. So it takes a while to get to that point, and you have to establish yourself as a good, consistent trader. Beverly, I'm going to send you, let me get the link if you're interested. So it's a women's only Discord. It's fun because, I don't know, when you get women together in a group, like we're all just cheering for each other and encouraging each other. And most of the women in the group are pretty new. So we're all kind of on this journey together. I'm going to send you the link if I can figure out how to put it in the chat while I'm live streaming with you. So that's a women's only Discord group. Sorry, men. We just wanted to make it a safe space for females to be able to be real. We talk about like mom life, like how it's hard to manage trading when you have kids at home, just all that stuff. And then different like strategies that we're all using, and red days and full tilt days, just kind of talking through all of it and supporting each other through it. All right, still sitting through the chop. Like I said, I'm going to sit with you guys. Still kind of chopping around that New York VWAP. Not a convincing hold above or below. It is holding above this point of control and overnight VWAP, but it's also rejecting this value area high and 15-minute opening range high. So honestly, if you guys are not in a trade already, I would not recommend getting into a trade. The only reason I'm in this is because I entered back here 32 minutes into the open, an hour and 45 minutes ago now at this point. But I'm going to see it through. Like I said, I had a good reason to enter. My risk is still within my parameter, so if I got stopped out, that's all right. It was a good trade. Zooming out to the 5 minute, what does that look like? A whole lot of wicks. Oh my goodness, that's ugly. Look at that. So one thing, so my name, my YouTube name, my Instagram name and everything is Fit Mom Trader. My background, I owned a gym, I've been a personal trainer, I was an online nutrition coach. Like that's what I did, or I'm still kind of in that a little bit, but my background is fitness and nutrition. That's my passion. I get to do it more for fun now. I owned a gym and sold it just to have more family time. It was like a fitness studio. It was almost like a second family. So we would have lots of different events, and it was really nice. But now that I have my own little family, I have 3 little kids, I wanted to be able to spend more time with them and taking them all to their like soccer games and stuff. So it was hard to have my time split between like being the gym mom and having people lean on me there, and then also having my kids at home. I figured out that like I didn't have any time for myself. I wasn't taking care of myself at all. So sold the gym, but still nutrition and fitness are like who I am. So as we're sitting here through the chop, if you guys have any questions about fitness or nutrition, put them in the chat. I would love to chat about it. I could go on all day about fitness and nutrition. I recently did a podcast with Joey Morgan, just kind of talking about my journey and the success I've found in the few short months I've been trading. And one of the things I was telling him about was being nervous going live with these live streams, because I'm not much of a talker. And I was like, man, it's going to be hard for me to sit here for like 2 hours staring at a screen, kind of basically talking to myself. Like every once in a while, there's questions in the chat. But after I've talked about my trading plan 5 times, then I'm just repeating myself. I was like, what do I talk about? So my husband actually gave me the idea. He's like, talk about nutrition. If somebody has questions about like how to lose weight or whatever, talk about that. I was like, that's a good idea. Narrowing emotion was great advice. Yeah, I'm glad you found that helpful, Don. And that actually came from my coaching as a nutrition coach. It was kind of like a nutrition psychology concept. Like if we have these big swings in our emotion, that leads to overeating. Like if we're super excited, celebrating something at the top of our game, what do? You go eat, right? Like go celebrate your kids got good grades, you go get ice cream. Or like you got a promotion, you're going to go out to dinner and get lots of wine or whatever. And then opposite end of the spectrum, you have a really bad day. You come home, you drink some beer. You come home, you sit on the couch and eat ice cream. So that was something that I coached my nutrition clients on, is to like narrow that emotional range and have less mood swings, because then it's a lot easier to control your eating that way. And I kind of had a light bulb moment a couple months ago when I was having some of those big trading emotional swing days where I would be at the top of my game, like, I'm so good at this, I'm awesome, and like lose my humility. And the next day would be super red because I sized up, I got confident and cocky and like didn't follow my plan. I'm like, I got this. And I would just click the button and then blow my account. And then other end of the spectrum, you know, if you're having a bad day and you like just let it spiral and start to get angry and frustrated and oversize and overtrade, that leads to blown accounts. So I was like, there's that wide spectrum. If I can just narrow my range, which, I mean, actual like conceptual things, ways to implement that would be setting the personal daily loss limit and personal daily profit target, where your account locks out when you hit those targets. It makes you stay within a smaller range. But then just emotionally too. If you have a bad day, walk away, shake it off, not a big deal. You lost a couple $100. Come back tomorrow when the price action's a little bit better. Don't let it spiral into like a complete meltdown. And then other end of the spectrum too, like maybe you had a good trading day and you just made $900 or $1,000 or whatever's good for you. Awesome. But come back to the next day and stay humble. Follow your trading plan. Mark your levels, follow your pre-market plan, follow your rules, your risk management rules. Like, don't let yourself get cocky and dumb. So either way, on other ends of the spectrum, keep your emotional range more narrow. And that helps a lot with consistency. How can we increase weight for a skinny guy with less nutrition? You're not going to like my answer. Honestly, the answer is nutrition. Yeah, if you want to increase weight, you got to eat more. And it can't be just like, I'm not going to say just go eat ice cream and like fast food and hamburgers and stuff. You're going to need to, a lot of times if you're skinny, it's you're a hard gainer is what they call it. And a lot of times your appetite just doesn't fit your metabolism. Like, you're just not hungry. Obviously, I'm speaking in generalizations because I don't know you and your scenario. But a lot of times people who are skinny and having trouble gaining weight, they're just not hungry enough to eat the food that it requires to gain weight. So in that case, you want to eat things that are calorie dense. So like, don't eat chicken and egg whites, because you have to eat a lot more of those to get the calorie requirements you need. You're going to want to put like butter on your vegetables, put olive oil on everything that you're cooking, top it with avocado, make your protein shakes with coconut milk, like full fat coconut milk. So add calories to the food that you're eating, because you just got to eat more food. Nico, you said you had a bad DCA habit. Is that like, if you were in a losing position, you would continue to add to your position? Is that what you're talking about? If you had to eat only one thing for healthy weight gain, what would it be? That's a good question, and it's hard to answer without fully knowing your scenario. So if your issue is that you're just not eating enough calories and you're just not hungry, I like full fat coconut milk, because you can put that in lots of different recipes. You can put it in like a protein shake smoothie and it'll add a lot of calories. and help you get the calories that you need without actually feeling full and like having to chew food. So if that's your issue, where you're not hungry, I like that. If you're just not eating enough of the right stuff, then protein shakes, actual meat protein, steak, chicken, pork, turkey, because that's really what you need to like gain good muscle, good weight, which is muscle. Yeah, Nico, I did that. I actually, if you haven't read The Best Loser Wins, I would recommend it. And he actually changed my perspective a lot and helped me stop adding to my losers, because I would do that. So just kind of paraphrasing it briefly, in that book, he talks about how you kind of have to think against the norm. So like, for example, the average person, if price is going down, like it's just plummeting, people are like, oh, I'm going to buy. It's a discount, right? But then you're trying to catch a falling knife and price continues to go down. So what he's saying is like, add to your winners, basically trade with the trend. So if price is going down and you're in a winning position, add to your position. Or if price is trending up and you're in a winning position, add to your position. So like once you get confirmation that you're in a winning position, it's better to add to your winners and not your losers. So just to kind of give you like an actual scenario, today's a really bad example because it's just choppy and I would definitely not add to your winners today. But let's say, for example, so I entered short here after we got this rejection of the previous day high and the 15-minute opening range high, and it had a pretty good candle down. If it had continued like heavily below this anchored VWAP, I could have added to my position because that would have been more confirmation that we're going to be continuing short to at least this 15-minute opening range high. And then I could have taken some of my profit here at this 15-minute opening range low. I think I said high earlier. I meant 15-minute opening range low. So let's say in that scenario that I was playing out, if it continued below anchored VWAP and hit this 15-minute opening range low, I could have taken some profit there. But if price was still heavy and it looked like there was going to be some continuation and maybe it broke out below this 15-minute opening range low, it retested and continued lower, that would have been another spot where I could have added to my position, because now you're in a winning position. You want to keep that position. And that whole time, as you're getting confirmation that it's going lower, you can continue to trail your stop loss. So your risk is still the same. But that's ideally what you want to be doing, is adding to your winners, not to your losers. All right, starting to get some movement down. I'm on the 5-minute chart here. I just moved to the 5-minute just to kind of eliminate some of the noise. If you look at the 1-minute, it just kind of, it plays with your mind a little bit, for me at least. I should say it plays with my mind when you start to analyze every 1-minute candle. Because look at this, we're like, we're breaking below VWAP. Okay, we're breaking above. We're breaking below. We're breaking above. If you zoom out to the 5-minute, it eliminates a little bit of that noise. I'm back. I had to plug in my computer. My battery was dying. What was your turning point to be a profitable trader? And how long did it take you to become profitable? So Jen, I started trading futures, like got my first prop firm account, like joined a Discord group, started following YouTube. I've been watching YouTube and like kind of starting to understand what a 15-minute opening range was and a 60-minute initial balance and all that stuff. I had been dabbling with watching videos before, but I got my first prop firm account and started trading in September of 2024. And then I took my first payout in February of 2025. So I traded for, what was that, 5 months or so before I took my first payout. And I wouldn't even say I was a profitable trader with that first payout, because that first payout pretty much just paid for all the prop firms that I blew in my first months. But at this point, I'm profitable. I've taken quite a few payouts since then. And I'm to the point where I've made more than I've spent on prop firm challenges. Turning point to being a profitable trader, I don't know. I don't know if I can say one turning point. It's been a lot of different things. Continuing to just be a student to the process. And always just, I mean, every day I'm trying to improve and get better. Like doing my video journals. All right, let me focus on this trade now since we're getting a breakdown. I am going to move to at least break even because we got a lower low. We're getting a confirmation that obviously shorts are the play. So this first target I have is at the 15-minute opening range low. I have 4 micros on my position. I'm going to take 2 off at the 15-minute opening range low if we hit it. I have another one set at 804. The reasoning behind that is just a lot of liquidity in that area. If you look left, there's quite a few spots right here. And the NASDAQ likes to do that, like little fake out liquidity grabs. So if you look at my chart here, 805 would be this section right here. The 15-minute opening range low is this line right here. So I could definitely see a little fake out where it like breaks below and gets a whole bunch of people short, grabs this liquidity at 805, and then it runs back up. So
order filled.
All right, so it filled that first order.
Order filled.
Filled the second one. And this one, since it's getting heavy, I'm just going to trail it. I'm going to let it ride. If it had started to chop around, I would have taken profit or at least set a target that I wanted to keep it at. But I'm going to let it trail and then go back to my chart. I'm going to move my stop loss a little bit lower. So this right here is that 15-minute opening range low. I'm going to set it there. Give it a little bit of room in case it wants to like retest and go lower. What the heck, you guys? I haven't been looking at my financial juice. Did some news come out? What is that? Beverly, yeah. Yeah, girl. I'm excited that you were able to get a win with me on that one. Yeah, what is this news? Crazy. Does anyone have financial juice up? What happened? All right, let me go back to my trading view and kind of see what levels we might be looking at. So it did grab that Asia low liquidity and had a decent bounce from there. We still have our London liquidity and our previous day low liquidity. So that 716-ish area might be a nice like home run target. I have one contract left, so just a little baby position. So, who was asking me? Nico, you were the one talking about dollar cost averaging. Are you still with me? So this would be a potential situation where you could add to your winning trade. So obviously we got confirmation that shorts are the play. So I still have one contract on. If we come up here and hit this 15-minute opening range low and have a strong rejection, that could be a spot where you could add to your position for continuation lower. So just kind of playing out some scenarios on where my head's at. A reason that I would not do it is if volume, like I'm watching these volume bars right here. Obviously there was a big red volume bar on that move down. So far, this green volume bar is a lot slower or smaller in proportion. But we're only 1 minute into this 5-minute candle. I'm still on the 5-minute chart. If this volume to the upside is increasing and it looks like we're like gonna reverse and go higher, I would not add to my position. But if we kind of have like a slow, choppy grind higher and it just looks weak and it looks like it's gonna reject at this resistance here, which there's this resistance to the left and that 15-minute opening range low, that would be a good area for resistance. If it looks weak, like a slow grind up and then sellers show up in that general area, I would be looking to add to my position for a bigger short and continuation lower. To just kind of to let you know my thought process there. I'm not Beverly, so I trailed out of my position, so I took part of it at the 15-minute opening range low. I took another part at 805, which is where that liquidity was. And then I left a runner simply because it got really heavy and I don't know where it's going to go. And I only have one left. It's a little itty bitty position. I have my stop loss in profit right around that 15-minute opening range low. So I wouldn't write it back up personally. You could have. That was a good spot for a bounce. The reason if I had gotten out of my position fully, I would not have taken a long, just because it didn't fully hit my levels of interest. Like it did hit that Asia low, but it could have easily also come down to the London low or previous day low. So if you had taken a long here, your stop loss to be like a good stop loss would have had to have been below those levels. So I personally wouldn't have taken it. All right, let me go to the 1-minute chart and kind of see how this grind up is going. Another thing you can do, Nico, if you're an anchored VWAP trader, you can put an anchored VWAP at this low. And if it breaks back below that anchored VWAP, you could either enter a short if you're not in one currently or add to your position. So I'll be watching for either of those. It's kind of coming up to that 15-minute opening range low right now. So if it continues higher, I'll get stopped out because my stop loss is right above it. If it continues lower, I'll add a little bit to my position. Show the price scale. Ah, my zooming is off, huh? Let me fix that for you guys. Is that better? My bad. This whole time, you guys haven't been able to see the price. Sorry about that. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for saying something about it. So, Nico, I don't know if you're planning on taking a short. I wouldn't yet because there's not really confirmation that sellers are showing up. So, what I would wait for is from this area a strong rejection, like a good, strong 1 minute candle close with volume before I took a short or added to my position. So you can either wait for that, like a 1 minute candle closure with volume that looks convincing, or if you want to be like extra safe, you can wait for a break below this anchored VWAP from the low of the day. So kind of playing around with this area. You can't see the numbers, Beverly, like they're too small. They're not zoomed in enough. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. I made them bigger. I zoomed in on my screen. Is that a little bit better? Yeah, I like anchored VWAP too. It's still a work in progress, I guess I can say. I gotta get better at like waiting for confirmation that we're actually closing below it, because you know it can easily like chop around it and then bounce off, and that was actually a good position for a long. So that's why I say like confirmation of a close below with volume. And then also, I don't like to take trades off of an anchored VWAP that's brand new. So like if it had only been maybe like 3 1 minute candles and then it broke below, I don't feel like that's a whole lot of data to have this anchored VWAP be a confluence, I guess, or enough information. So, you know, after 10 to 15 minutes, if it has been going up and then it breaks down below with volume, with a candle closure, I feel like that's better. All right. So got stopped out of that last runner that I had. So up 400 on that trade. And that was four micros. Not too bad. That was a really small position. So now that we have a little bit of volume back in the market, just kind of what I'm looking for at this point. I don't know if I'm going to necessarily take a trade because I would want it to be really good information. But I could see us coming back up to this VWAP area where there's lots of VWAPs kind of pulling together. The overnight VWAP is the darker blue. The lighter blue is the anchored New York VWAP. They're kind of in the same spot, which is also at this point of control area. So this general region right here is a good area of interest. Also, this right here, I mean, that's the 15-minute opening range low. I know it's breaking above it right now, but if we have a strong rejection somewhere soon, we could have a potential short. But we're kind of starting to get some volume going up, so we could also potentially like come back down here to the 15-minute opening range low and retest and go higher. So that's a possibility too. Just kind of playing out some scenarios. But I feel pretty good about that. $400 up in that trade. Cool. All right, guys. So I'm going to lay out a few scenarios for what I'd be looking for and what my alerts would be. So if that area I was telling you about right here, where we have the anchored VWAPs and overnight VWAP and point of control, that's an area of interest. If we get a strong rejection from there, I would definitely be looking for shorts lower. If we come down to this 15-minute opening range low, come back down here and break and retest, I would definitely be looking for a long. So I'm going to set a couple of alerts, step away from my screen for a little bit, just because volume is not really there. And I'm going to call it for the stream. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I love all the questions. It gave me something to talk about. I'm glad you guys are finding it useful and helpful. I'm having fun with it too. So, like I said a few minutes ago, I will not be here tomorrow. I'm going to be a guest streamer on a different stream. I will be here Thursday and Friday. Thursday, I actually have a free account to give away. So show up Thursday. I'm going to do a little drawing. All right. Thanks again for showing up, you guys. If you haven't already, go like my stream. I would appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe so you can actually get notifications when I do go live and when I post different content. And then like it just so that you can help the YouTube algorithm. That's a hard word to say. As I'm growing my channel and kind of spreading the word. So I would appreciate the help. You guys have a great day. I'll see you soon.